feels better. So thanks for being a little patient. I just know that this new time slot that I've moved to, we have quite a few people that go from, well, in my time zone, 6:30 to 7:30, and a lot of them are not done at 7:30. But if they're about to wrap it up, and I can see that like a lot of my shared subscribers are also in there, then I like to give them the benefit of the doubt and give them some time. Now, I want to show you something real quick because it's happening as we speak. So, right here, we have a nest being made by a very beautiful little fish that will, I'm sure, return to her little nest in a moment. Right now, she is up here. Is this one the she? Yeah, this is the she. And this is the Nanochromis parlus. Beautiful, beautiful fish. The males are even more colorful, and they get more colorful than this. But they have just a lot of iridescence and a lot of detail in their little fins. And thanks to Luke Wang or Luke Purian, if you guys know that screen name, for sending me these little guys. So they're not quite fully adult yet, but they are one of my favorite. I love Nanochromis. They only get about 2 inches long, so they're gonna stay smaller than even this bugger right here. But right now I've got them in the lake inlay tank because it's literally perfect for what they like. They will nest in caves, but what they love is rock. They love to nest in rock and sand, and they will take like an overhanging ledge and put their eggs on that and then defend that. So they're just a really, really fun little fish, a really beautiful little fish. And it was only named in 2005, believe it or not. Even though it's fairly widespread in the Congo, its locations, but it's kind of like a extra skinny crebensis. Here's a male here. I got two males and a female, which I'll wait until one of them pairs off. But right now the males are kind of showing off for the females. There goes the female again. But it's making that tank very, very lively. And I love them. Hopefully they'll spawn and there'll be something else that I have available locally. I don't necessarily like shipping fish long distance, however, for the sheer fact that fish die when you ship them to a lot of people. Some are going to die. And one, I hate losing beautiful animals needlessly if someone can find them somewhere closer. See, here they are. Yeah, see that male? He's coloring up to show off to the other male, and they're off. So I do want to pardon the scuffs and the water stains or any sort of algae that's on any tanks. I've had, as you guys probably know if you are regular watchers, I have had an insane couple of weeks. I have a little app that keeps track of how many hours you work on like specific software. So on one of my apps where I was doing the layout for this kid's coloring book that's going down to Peru, and I guess today it's officially all printed and in the hands of Renee Mazeral, which is awesome. And she's taking it down there tomorrow on a plane ride to go meet up with Anthony, Dr. Mazeral, down there. And we got the book done in time, which is great. And it ended up being, first, she was thinking a 10-page book or something. Ended up being 32 actual pages plus cover, back cover, and inside cover, back inside cover. So ended up being 36 pages of art or illustrations, because even the text pages had some borders and stuff plus activities. So we got it all done, and I'm happy to say we got it done. It looks the way we wanted it essentially, and we got a Spanish version and an English version. She did let me know that if anybody wants a copy, you can get it at their center if you're in Peru, or if Dr. Anthony comes to speak at any fish clubs or whatnot, or if you make a donation of $50 or more, they'll send you a copy of it. And the link to that I can get up and I'll add it to the stream later in the description if you're watching the replay or you want to just come back and do so. But that's a way where you can help out um, the foundation, the ornamental fish of the Amazon Research Center that the Mazarals run. And, you know, another stat just to mention how much work they put into it is that actually 80% of their funding has been their own money, like their retirement money and their savings money. So they really believe in the cause of teaching the locals how to do aquaculture, both for food and for ornamental fish, to take the pressure off, the wild stock of food fish and ornamental fish. And also so that there's more than just 3 or 4 months of the year that the Piaberos, or the 80,000 to 100,000 people throughout the entire continent of South America, make a living catching fish. So, and that's for ornamental fish and pet fish or fish that are used for other things than food. So, also that would include, I guess, byproducts that are made with specific fish and things like that, with their teeth or their jaws, or little taxidermy trophies of the Amazon of little piranhas and so forth. But he wants to teach them to do that all sustainably and down there. Plus, it's also going to be a spot where researchers, grad students, anybody like that can go down. And honestly, you guys could go down. Anybody can go down if they talk to them and if they'll volunteer or help out. Just upkeep, maintenance of the place, and basically then you can go down there and you can be a part of the project and you can go collect fish and enjoy the wildlife on the off time. So Angie, you're asking if I do coloring books. Yes, I've had several adult coloring books, not like adult, but the complexity level would be probably considered adult. Here, I'll grab one real quick while we're talking about it. I think a lot of people have seen this though. I haven't been selling them particularly often lately. I've been bringing them when I am in person doing speeches or talks. And do I have a story to tell you guys about my trip to Eugene and Portland this last week, which was just the cap on a chaotic and hectic week, right? So, but it was great to be down there and to see the club and meet everyone. That was really cool. But I do have this book as well as another one called The Fungus Among Us, which is a Pacific Northwest species of mushrooms. It's kind of botanical drawings, or rather mycological drawings of fungi, whereas this one is either my artwork or tattoo outlines and designs that I designed for folks when I was a tattoo artist full time. So let me turn this around real quick. We won't spend much time on this because I feel like I've covered it before and I haven't really been promoting it a whole lot, but nudity. But it's definitely like that was a back piece designed for somebody that they didn't end up getting. Those are two cuttlefish mating in space. Don't ask where my mind was 15 years ago when I drew that. But yeah, and here's like an octopus that is eating sushi rolls made with a sushi chef in the sushi rolls. So I kind of have a funky style of art, I guess, kind of pop art, psychedelic, with a lot of organic and natural, also Eastern tones to it too. But I have thought about doing an aquarium coloring book, and the most recent one we just did, that Renee and I just did, where she wrote the story, it's all about the Amazon and the fish and all the creatures down there. Hold on, let me get this light on too. I don't know why it just went out. I'm gonna have to try a different plug. But essentially, it is all fish and all artwork related to the jungle, like I said, and fish. So, it would be pretty easy to repurpose that and just make a harder skill level adult per se coloring book. There we go. We got some light. Aziz light. We've got it. All right. So, how's everybody doing? We doing good? We feeling good? Let me get this tripod set up. Uh, You guys don't need to see my big old belly. You guys need to see my dumb old face. So, are we coming in clear? Can you guys hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Um, yes, Teresa, the cream artwork, a lot of the Bill Graham commissioned artwork is what inspired me. And in fact, a lot of the art in this book and this coloring book. See, a lot of these were color, and I took the color out of them and relined them because some of them, like the little house cat with the poppies, some of those are a lot of lines that are not in were not originally in the artwork. So I had to kind of go in and make lines for people to kind of color by number. But this book was one of the first adult coloring books. There was one called Mandalas, and of the recent wave of coloring books, there was kind of a craze in the 70s, nowhere near as big as the current one or as the last one. But about 10 years ago, when coloring books got big, that's when this first one came out. Right before that happened, and then my second one came out during the peak of it, and I printed them all on stuff that was heavy duty, waterproof, so you could use watercolors, all cover stock. And then I used gel ink so it wouldn't bleed, and it's all one-sided, and it's all ready to be ripped out. It's glued in seams. So it was a pretty expensive project to do. Each book actually cost me something like $7.90 to print. So it actually ended up going for $20 a book, usually, or two for 30 sometimes. But yeah, so it was kind of a limited edition. I did a few thousand of them, and I have thought about doing a fish one, but being self-published and all that, it's a lot of work to get it all together, and it's a lot of work to sell, for that matter. So I just don't know if I'm ready for it and if the market's quite there. I'm actually thinking about doing a kind of like a card deck with trivia about the fish hobby, about the biology of fish, the history of the hobby, little tips and tricks, but also mostly trivia, almost like a Jeopardy style or Trivial Pursuit style was more accurate. Little card game, and that would have imagery on each one for the different ideas. Oh, thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. He said it's definitely the best quality coloring book. He got one for his lady. She has ever owned, and she has a lot of books. Yeah. Is the white part fuzzy? No, it's not a felt one, or velvet or whatever. But there, just so happens that there are a lot of fish and octopus and things like that. This is an octopus ripping the top off of mountains to create volcanoes. So there actually was quite a bit of art that had different fish related themes in these. So hold on. And I guess while we're talking about the fact that I'm selling the shrimp that you guys have been asking me and asking me and asking me, and finally I've broken and I've decided that I'll be shipping fish within the U.S. If you guys want some, or shipping shrimp and plants within the U.S. if folks want some. Honestly, I just need to pay off some medical bills, and I also just want to spread the love and some of the rare stuff in the hobby that's sturdy enough to travel in the post, and that I feel comfortable won't die. At least there's a very high likelihood that it won't die. So there's some fragile fish that, even if it's a 90% chance or 95% chance that they're gonna make it, I like a 99% chance. And shrimp, especially the ones I'm talking about, they're very sturdy and they usually make it. So I feel pretty comfortable about that. But it's good to see everybody in here. I hope that, like I said, I hope Zen Ginger, thank you so much. Please hit like if you haven't already. I appreciate that as well. Jovi, hello. Chris George, hello. Buttface, hello. I don't know if I'd buy an entire coloring book, but a super high quality coloring page of an animal I particularly care for would be so rad. So, actually, I have copies of a lot of my aquatic themed art, and the stuff that you've seen probably on my T-shirts and things, my merchandise, that as well as all my coloring book pages, I have digitized, and I was selling digital copies, but more often than not now I just give away the file set. But I did unfortunately, I did start to see that in China they started printing a bunch of my artwork onto merchandise and onto things like phone cases and stuff, and so I kind of stopped giving it out quite as much after that because I wanted people to make sure that they really cared about it. So it's kind of like if you talk to me a little bit and I know who you are, at least I usually give it away, the digital files. But if you want the high quality paper and the whole set together, it's usually $20. Because obviously there's all the hundreds and hundreds of hours that go into 36 images in each book, plus the layout, and then each book, like I said, costs just about $8 to make, with the other book actually costing a little over $8 to make. Hey, what's going on, Kenny? What up, Road Warrior? We had a great weekend, man. Yeah, so before we get to the plants and the shrimp, I gotta kind of tell you guys what went on. So I want to tell you that story after I finish seeing who all's hanging out in here tonight. So obviously we got the Zen Ginger. Good to see you. First Class Fish, welcome to the community. I'm so glad. And Discordia Creates. I really want a few Malawa shrimp if you're selling them this month. That's too early for me. Oh wait, this month. That's too early for you. Well, I may be selling them in the future too. I'm not sure yet. First Class Fish. Hello. I'd love some. Many others. I promise. Keep color and work going on Malawas. Right on. Yeah. So that was the other part that I was trying to decide was, am I going to sell my color lines, the red and blue ones in particular? Because I have the natural ones, and I actually have the coals too, which I don't have a problem selling. But I only have so many of the colorful ones, and the gold nebula is another shrimp that Aquatic Arts carries, and that's why I have them. But they're very closely related, Caridina, and I actually am spacing on which Caridina they are. But they're another one that is they're like it's not the Gilbert eye, and it's not the Weber eye. It might be the Weber eye. But in any case, they look extremely similar, except for the gold nebulas. When they have proper KH and GH in the water, they actually get these stripes and splotches, kind of like a Pinto Galaxy or a Fishbone would on a fancy Caridina. But that's their wild pattern, and some get it, and some just have beautiful kind of clearish colors, like light blue or light green. It just depends on their mood, like it changes. And the substrate, having a dark substrate really helps. Like white sand, they're all going to be pretty translucent. On a dark substrate, they can really change. But I'll actually show you guys right now. I was going to wait and tell you guys the story, but I'll just show you right now. Why hold you guys in suspense? Dang it. Come on, door. Close. Whoa, you guys are way too close to my face, huh? Alright, so let's turn this around again. And, thanks again, Kenny, for the super chat, man. You did so much this weekend for me. I can't believe you're throwing super chats my way, man. It's too much. It's too much, man. It's too much. So, we'll see if we can get a good shot of them in here. But here's one of my blue Malawas that's pregnant. And if you guys can make it out, they're not like, oh my gosh, they're blue like you'd think of Blue Dreams. They're like a sky blue. She's not a like real vivid example. I just grabbed her out of the tank because it's also interesting. They have yellow eggs, the blue ones. So I kind of wonder if there's some pigmentation like albinism or leucism, I guess it would be called leucism, leucistic, whatever. I don't know the plural or whatever word of that, but. Then we've got more, like here's a normal Malawa. Let's try to, man, I don't know why this isn't, remember we were having a real hard time focusing on these shrimp there we go. And yeah, so there we are. So here's the shrimp that I just pulled out for the show. Anthony the Aquaman, what's up? David Rayner, what's up? Hey Droogs. J-Man, hey, Comets, welcome. Fish and Floral, welcome. Tony, welcome. Xanadu, Richard Reynolds, what's up? Jericho, good to see you. Angie McGee, did you read about the world's... Yes, I did see the world's biggest freshwater fish, aka the Mekong stingray, caught 660 pounds. Rumor is they used to get over 1,500 at some point in history, but I guess it was pre-photos, so who knows. But yeah, supposedly they're way, way, way bigger back in the day, which isn't that true with lots of things. Like sturgeon used to be up to like 20 feet long, and now 16 feet is an incredibly large one now. So here is another version of the blue line. So sometimes they come out like this, which I wanted to show before. I'll go over to the tank and show you the true ones. But these all could be within the coal range, like that I would consider pulling out because they're not quite blue enough. But they kind of have this nice bluish green, and these are the ones I was talking about that if I sold, they'd probably have to be like $10 a piece, unfortunately. Just because I've spent 6 years now separating them and keeping them and having at least like 6 containers for them. Since I started keeping fish again, I've had these. These were the first shrimp that I got again, and I got them, which is kind of cool, the original line of them that I've had, because the wild ones can turn any color you could imagine in a clear sense. So kind of like an earth tone palette, but they can be brown, they can be orange, they can be blue, they can be red. They'll color up random colors. It's not super vivid, like I said, but they do just change colors on you. And so what I started doing was collecting the ones that were really vivid red or blue, because those are some base pigments. I tried yellow as well. That was a dead end. Green was a dead end also. But the red and blue, I was able to establish a red line, and then from that a blue line, which is very similar to how Neocaridina lines were established. So yeah, so the Neocaridina, or the Caridina, these Malawa Caridina are from the island of Sulawesi, and in Indonesia, which usually you have to have special water for if they're from any of the lakes on the island, because the island's very high in salt and sulfur content, as well as just carbonates and other things like that in the water that make it so that it's a difficult environment to replicate. It's usually like a 8.5, 8.6 pH, which is not usual for shrimp, for freshwater shrimp. And then relatively low TDS in some species, and then there's others from other lakes on Sulawesi that are super high. Well, these aren't anything like that. These are the shrimp that are found in the streams all over the island of Sulawesi, and they are the Caridina that I guess probably evolved from either an ocean-going or stranded population as water levels changed after the Ice Age. So they're very similar to other Caridina, but they do not interbreed with any of the Caridina that I've kept before, which is interesting. That's also the case with several other species of Caridina, like Cantonensis, and all the bees all interbreed really easily, but the Serrata doesn't seem to interbreed with the other Caridina either a whole lot, which is the tangerine, the true tangerine tiger shrimp in the wild. Now you've got all sorts of variants that have their genes in them, but they only cross with the Japanica and the Cantonensis. Won't cross with the other 9 Caridina that are found in Southeast Asia there. So I keep these with Neocaridina. I keep them with Amano. I keep them with Caridina, and they're fine in pH anywhere from around 6 all the way up to around 8. And then their TDS can be anywhere from about 50 to around 400. Honestly, they are the most resilient shrimp I've ever had. Plus, they eat their own weight in algae daily. I mean, they are the best cleaning shrimp I've ever had for their size. Now, I would say a mono shrimp are probably best at eating hard to get algae, if you're just saying period, but they don't breed in fresh water, whereas these, they can have their whole life cycle in fresh water. Now, the golden nebulas, which again I can't recall the exact name of them at the moment, they are also a freshwater spawner, and they will not mix with these ones because I've kept the in this tank, which we'll look at, and then I'll try to. I'm trying to be aware of the questions, folks. But the tank over across the room where I've got my blue morphs, and the blues actually throw reds. So if you get blues, you end up throwing some reds. So like, see how there's some yellow? That right there, that's a golden nebula. See all the white like patterning and striping on it? There, that one, and there's one right behind it. Those are golden nebula, and you can see their eyeballs on their actual eye there. And same with these Caridina. So here's one of the blues that's actually got a decent blue color. Um, but yeah, so let me move some around, or actually we can see a really good blue one right here too. So again, I'm still having to cull these, and right now the lights are on these ones so that we can see them for filming. But you can really see that blue coming out, and nobody in the world has the blue Malawas or red Malawas. They just have wild ones. And the wild range is about like these gold nebulas also, or any wild Caridina. It just kind of, it could be any color. Like you see these kind of yellowish and slightly green, slightly yellow, mostly clear ones. Those are the golden nebula ones. See, here's another golden nebula, here's another golden nebula. So I keep my gold nebulas, and they're happy to live with fish. They're actually very good at keeping away the fish. But I keep my golden nebulas in this tank too. But there's another, this is different. The other little blue one swam off, but here's another little blue one in here. And beyond that, I also have different buckets where I see different characteristics, like more of an opaque blueness or lots of spangling. And so I've got all these different containers where I'm always sorting the little shrimp and trying to find new combinations that'll work out. But if we scoot some things aside here, again, we did this the other day, but since we're talking about these shrimp in particular, let's see if we can see some more of the actual blue line that I'm speaking on. So, and that, or some of the reds, because like I said, the blue tank, it throws reds, but the reds never throw, or sorry, let me say that again. The reds threw blues for me years ago, just a couple. And that was the first time I'd ever seen the blue ones. Now, the blue ones frequently throw reds, so they're not as true of a line as the redder ones. So the rusty and red ones, they very frequently throw red. So there's, and I don't know the deal with that, other than like, see here's one that I would consider, and it doesn't look like it from this angle, but up here it's a rusty orange to red color. And again, they're extremely close. They're both Silawese species. The ones with the white, like plaque-looking stuff on them, though, those are the golden nebulas, and they're called that because of that plaque, because it looks like stars or stardust on them. Whereas these ones down here that don't have any of that, and they also have a slightly different rostrum, and usually a different segment amount, and their eggs are different colors when they're pregnant. They're a little different, so they only get that white a little bit right on the bends, right before they molt. Whereas you can see even most of these little coals in here, they have the blue tint like that one right there. And this camera doesn't show iridescence nearly as well as I wish it would, because from the right angle, they just sparkle, which is really cool. A lot of it is up to substrate though, because like I said, in the wild, they will momentarily turn a lot of different colors, just like a Neocaridina would. I mean, all shrimp kind of have this ability to lightly turn a bunch of colors. These are no different from that. But I just think they're great shrimp regardless of all that, and that they're. If you've watched my video of my trick to cleaning algae, you'll know this tank, which this was the one where I tried to get yellows once upon a time out of, but now it's pretty much completely reverted back to all wild Malawas. And I don't think there are any stardust left in here, if I recall. But here you can see like a pregnant one, and you can see the colors that are more normal on them if you buy them anywhere else. All the natural lines are going to look like these. And these are great because you take anything with a little bit of algae on it, and they will clean it up pretty much overnight. There's only one type of algae that I've encountered that they won't eat. They'll even eat some blackbeard algae if you don't give them fish food or anything else in the water. But the one algae they don't eat is this specific green algae that I've been, I try everything on them. And this specific green algae that it's not just the one that is common, it's one that every algae splits into like 10 different pieces. And then those pieces split into 10 more pieces. It's like a fractal algae of some sort. And it's not in any of my tanks other than this one, oddly enough. But it grows into these balls that fall off the plant. So it's something very different from just this kind of algae that grows on different surfaces that's fuzzy green algae. It's a very odd kind that I only recently discovered in any of my tanks. But yeah, so these are the ones that I would mostly be selling here. And I'll have to kind of know that somebody knows what they're doing and they want to really take care of the line and work on it if they want some of the reds or blues. But these are the ones that, as you can see on a light substrate, they'll take this color form. Let's find them on a darker substrate so I can show you guys the variation. But they can really change quite a bit, even if they're not the ones that I've been sorting. So, and they all have kind of a nice little glow to them under any good lighting. So, try to get the reflection not to show here too. But these guys on the darker substrate definitely. Let's find a clear shot of them, and we'll scare some to the front. So these guys, they're very prolific too. They're very good at reproducing. Even with fish in the water, they end up having quite a few babies. But you'll see some that are yellow, some that are blue, some that are green. They're always going to be that clear color. Some that have a little bit of red to them. Some that have a little bit of that blue to them, like this, or even purple, like that one right there. But they just kind of change color depending on mood. That one there has like a big blue splotch on the center of it, and kind of like oh, it's got eggs, that's why. So it has them to kind of disguise the eggs. This one here kind of has some yellow and bronze. So they're a really pretty fish, or a pretty shrimp, regardless of them being any color morphs like the Neocaridinas or like the other Caridinas. So most of the time people think Caridina, that's going to be really hard to take care of. Focus. But these ones are extremely easy. I've left them out into very cold weather, like 40-degree weather. So they're about as hardy as the Neocaridinas are as far as that goes. And I really enjoy them. There's some old ones in here. So this tank hasn't gotten any new ones. And I tried to put all males in originally, but I think there are some females. But it's mostly older males. So this is as big as they'll get when they're old. And again, on the darker substrate, you get a little more color. Sometimes you'll get like a turquoise like this one, or a light emerald green. And they've held their own against two Machiensis bettas and a bunch of guppies and a number of other pretty big fish in here over time. But here's another good example of kind of that wild color that a pregnant female. Focus. And again, they've got those kind of gonzo eyes. Oh, she's not even pregnant. She's just got a red tail at the moment and kind of a darker, clear body. Um, but yeah, so they can vary quite a bit. They're never going to get that big. I mean, there's a least killifish and full grown a full grown guppy for comparison. So a female guppy. So they're pretty small. They're like Neocaridinas. But again, if we compare the Caridinas, they're much brighter. The overall use of these shrimp, why so many people want them at this point, is because they are incredibly good at eating algae, and they're incredibly good at putting like 10 in a tank, letting it sit for a month or two. They have babies. As long as you give them places to hide, like in here, then they have babies like crazy. Pretty much every 30 to 60 days, the females will have 30 to 40 babies. And they work very well in early cycle process. They can put up with quite a bit, even a little bit of ammonia, these shrimp, which is pretty amazing compared to most shrimp. So I've loved them, and the way that I got them was from Steve Walden of Aquarium Zen, and he got them from Takashi Amano's actual workshop, because he went to Japan in the year 2003 through 2005, I want to say, and he actually studied under him. And so that is where he got them. He brought them back to the US, and now he's owned Aquarium Zen for 10 years. He's written for Amazonas, and he did all of Bezos, the owner of Amazon.com. He did all of his aquascaping and their endangered species spheres, where there's all these plants and stuff, and then there's these huge Amazon tropical fish tanks, like I think 20,000 gallons total. So he's who taught me my aquascaping info, and he's also basically for free. I just showed up and helped out for 2 years, and then about a year in, he said, "Okay, fine, I'll show you what I know of Iwagumi," and then I kind of picked up other stuff along the way too. But as a gift, when he deemed me proficient, he gave me 6 Amano shrimp, 3 females and 3 males. And a couple years later, I got more from him. And when he saw that I was playing with trying to get color lines. But again, the blue ones, they have these bright yellow and orange eggs usually on them. And they're just a really pretty shrimp. I love them. And it's been hard to say that I'm going to part with them, because they're kind of my secret weapon, honestly. But if you're interested, I pinned my email. And I decided that I'm going to do members are going to get a discount. And I think what I'm going to do is they're going to be $7 a shrimp. And I think that if you buy 10, you'll get $1 off. And so members will get $1 off each shrimp also. So like for members, instead of, it being $60 for 10 shrimp, it'll be $50 for 10 shrimp. So I think that's what it's going to be, plus shipping. Just got done reading an article on how biofiltration is pretty much the only filtration you need. It's pretty interesting. Anthony, I've suspected that for a long time, so that's interesting. Alex, how are those? Oh, the Lucanzi, they're doing great. They haven't had any babies. They've been coloring up like they're going to, but they haven't had any babies. I don't know what's up. Brookley Bell, what's going on? Craig, what's going on? Good to see you guys. Average Fish Keeper, what's going on, buddy? Greg Jones, what's up? Tony DeLue, hello. Yeah, so my heart and soul is really gone into these shrimp, and then the colorful lines. I think I'm just basically going to double the price. And I can only do a limited amount in, in at this time. Hopefully, I'll keep getting better. The blues and the reds, again, they're not quite like Neocaridina because they're color changing shrimp, just like the quote unquote ninja shrimp that are from Fiji and Palau. But they are just a really interesting shrimp that's just really good at surviving off of algae, and also they're incredible for surviving in a tank if you don't want to add food. Just like put a jar in a windowsill. They're like the shrimp for that. They're kind of like glass shrimp in that regard too. But I think there's a lot more potential in these shrimp because they've got both iridophores and pigment cells. There's some research done on them, and the genetics have been researched a bit. But it seems like they don't really interbreed with the other Caridinas, which is kind of interesting. Sulawesi is a weird island, so I guess it's not that surprising. But in any case, so that's the scoop on them. I have videos on them also, if you're curious about like more care, detailed info. But they are probably the most peaceful shrimp that I've had. Whereas Amanos to me are a very aggressive shrimp that will like take pieces, swim away, fight with other shrimp, jump out of the tank all the time. And even like cherry shrimp, they kind of compete with one another. These are definitely, they just have enough babies that is how they compete. They're not really aggressive at all. So I really like that about them. Yeah, so that's basically what I have to say about them. Now, let me see what we got going on in. Oh shoot, hold on. I always do that. I always got to spill a little bit of something. It's going out to all the fish that couldn't get saved over the years or something. Like, got to pour one out for the fishies, the homies. All right, so let's see what y'all are talking about. Sweet Shot, hello. All right, so if you guys have questions, I'm actually going to kind of skip ahead so that I don't answer questions from anybody who's already gone. Benjamin, welcome so much. So yeah, like I said, oh, you've got Sweet Shot, you've got Ninja Shrimp, right on. I love those shrimp. I forget their name at this point in time too. Regina, thank you so much. I saw your comment about lovely hair. Well, I appreciate it. The reason it's wavy, I mean, it usually does get wavy as it gets long, but I've had it back in a ponytail most of the weekend, most of the week and weekend. But it got wet on my trip back, and now it's all wavy. If it gets really wet and I let it dry, hanging down, it gets like ringlets. But yeah, if you have a question, just let me know. No, it is not hard water. It's not a hard water shrimp at all. I mean, it can withstand pretty hard water to the same extent that Neocaridinas can. And it's not at all fragile like Caridina, like bee shrimp or tangerine tigers, blue bolts, even crystal shrimp. It's nowhere near as gentle as those are as far as how you have to treat them. These I've kept alive in like a bowl, just eating, in eating light with just plants in there, not even other fish in there to like give waste or food to. And I've kept them alive for months and months. They don't reproduce quickly when you do that, but they survive for a really long time. Corundulan works, shrimps cleaning other fish eggs. You've talked about the Malawa helping with that before. Can you go into detail? Yeah, so and hey EJ, hey Bunny Viper, good to see you, and Pennsylvania Fish Preacher, good to see you too. So I would say that it is very handy. I can't ship to Canada, unfortunately, Angie. If you could come to the border, I mean, I could probably meet you if you're in BC, or next time I come up to BC. But unfortunately, shipping fish up to BC without a commercial license or the agricultural permit is like, I think it's like $250 for the permits and stuff. If you know otherwise and you can get that figured out, and let me know what I need to do, I will try to send them. But in the past, whenever I've tried it, it's just nuts. Big Dog says, I have put no planaria for 3 days and is still there. What do I need to do? I have baby shrimp in tank. Um, hey, calm down, big dog. I saw what you said. I would say if you dosed it as they say to, the right amount, definitely don't add more right away. They should die slowly. They don't die right away. It does take them a couple days to die. Um, but my guess is you may not have planaria. They may be some other form of worm or nematode if that is not killing them. Because no planaria is super strong. Even at half dosage, which is what I tend to do when I use it, it kills them all within 3 to 5 days. It does take a couple days, like I said, though, even with their dosage. But it can kill off your shrimp in high dosages. So it's going to kill all your shrimp rather than the planaria killing some of your shrimp if you overdose no planaria. What it is it's like caffeine. It's betel nut, which is a psychoactive drug, and it basically causes their capillaries to open, their heart to pound, their blood pressure to go up, and them to become dehydrated and die. Uh, so it works kind of like a nicotine or caffeine would in a plant to keep pests away. So I would be careful with that. Um, I don't know about alum if that would kill shrimp. I'm not really sure. I don't know anything about that one. Yes, a first class fish. The Malawa are not shy at all. They're very active and they aren't really afraid of fish generally. So you kind of have to be careful with that. If you've got fish that are readily going to eat them, unless that's your intended goal, you kind of have to give them lots of cover because they will just sit out on the end of a leaf or a twig and then just become lunch. Many times I've transferred them into tanks as a food source, like knowing that I want them to reproduce. But as I put them in there, they all just kind of chill where I put them, and fish come through and eat like half, and I'm like, great, they didn't go to the bottom and reproduce where I wanted them to. So now I know better, and I put them where I need them, like down in the planted area. You copper bombed a tank to get rid of snail leeches. Well, if that is copper can really kill shrimp and snails quickly. So I don't know. I don't mess with it as a dosing as a product to dose with. So I can't really give good advice. Unfortunately, I don't have experience. So I apologize. You might find that was very common before shrimp were in the hobby. When some of the older folks in the hobby, or folks that were in the hobby, in the 60s, 70s, they know a lot of those other chemicals. Aluminum. Yeah, like Patrick, actually, Dragon Lair, he probably has a good understanding of using copper to treat things. Copper is in a lot of parasitical and fungal treatments. It's just it happens to kill shrimp, so it's a very fine margin of dosing versus killing the shrimp too. Alex, can you keep all male pea puffers together? Yeah, totally. Yep. Do I put more than 3 days the no planary? Do I put more than 3 days the no planaria? I would do a big water change, like 50% on day 4, if they still aren't dying and you still see planaria. And then you could add another dose after you've done like 2 days of 50%. I wouldn't add more than what they said to add, if that's what you did, even if it's been 3 days, if you have any sort of shrimp. Now, if you don't have any shrimp, but I think you said you had baby shrimp, then I wouldn't worry about it. But if you have baby shrimp, I would be very careful. Let's see here. let's see. So Zen Ginger, is no planaria a light safe treatment or one you need to use blackout? I can't remember. UV light does break it down, but within about 12 hours that starts happening, and the dosage that they recommend is designed to last 24 hours regardless of the light, apparently. So it will help break it down, but yeah, it's tricky. And yeah, Dragon Lair is saying, copper is iffy with most invertebrates. Some it kills, some it doesn't. But snails and shrimp are really susceptible to it. Yeah, exactly. John Monroe, talk about another guy with a lot of experience keeping fish. Alum. John Monroe, do you know anything about alum, using alum in the aquarium? Or specifically, not the old school alum apparently, but it is what did EJ say? Ammonium aluminum sulfate, not the ammonium aluminum oxide. You know anything about that? Or potassium aluminum sulfate is the one that is in other brands. Yeah, I don't know that. I haven't done any research on that chemical on its own. And copper will stay in your tank, yes. You have to physically change the water, but beyond that, it will settle in your water. It'll fall out of solution, and even if it's, dissolved, it will, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So if you're talking about alum to dip plants, I have tried that, but I haven't ever mixed with animals in alum. Um, But yes, it does kill pest snails. I know that, and it kills their eggs as well, which means it's potent, probably. Um, and then Anthony says you'll have to test your copper levels, so that may well be the case that you're going to have to do that. And yes, alum can melt some plants. Also, I mean, you can use things like just soaking it in chlorinated water as well, like tap water. If you've got strongly chlorinated tap water, some people will just do that. For me, I usually just leave the plants in water of any sort, just some tap water. Don't dechlorinate it or anything, and leave them in there for like a night or two, letting them float and have some, room for things to drop if there is anything. And the snails and stuff, generally, they'll show themselves along the edge. You can even put a little piece of food at the bottom, a little wafer or something, if you get a big load of plants. I've done that, and you get rid of most things, but you're always going to have algae, cyanobacteria, and things like that could be an issue if you don't do certain things like salt dips or alum or hydrogen peroxide. So yeah. Sage says your hair is lovely. Giving LRB a run for for the fish fam, huh? Well, thank you kindly. I did use my on his poster. That's the artwork. I did his art for all his stuff, all his merch stuff and art stuff I've done, and all of it. I literally just took pictures of my own hair, and just kind of because I couldn't get good ones of his. His hair's darker than mine. I've got this like weird taupe colored hair. It's like almost gray. It's like a clear color with a little bit of red in it in some spots, and a little bit of brown, and a little bit of blonde. It's just weird. Regina, thank you so very much for the $20 super chat. Wow, thank you. I really do appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. You are such a supportive part of this community to so many people, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I'll just say that. So thank you. Let's see here. Alum will make the water basic, raise the pH. John Monroe says, I use powdered alum that I buy at the supermarket at about a tablespoon per quart of tap water for soaking my plants. It kills snails in about an hour, and overnight soak will kill any snail eggs. Okay, yeah. See, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of the dosage amounts and those sort of things, but I definitely trust those guys. They've been keeping fish way longer than I've been alive. So, let's see. Yeah, bleach or Lysol. Keith says I use my Neos to clean bristlenose eggs. Works great for me. Yeah, some fish don't like that if they're around their eggs, like cichlids and things, or Batis. basically any fish that kind of guards its eggs. Doesn't like snail and shrimp to be hanging out around it. However, these guys, the Malawa shrimp, oh, actually, this lens pointing this way might be better to see things than the other way. That is maddening for several reasons, but let's give it a go. Yes, you can see them way better apparently with the front lens. So yeah, there's one of the blue ones, and there's some normal ones in the same thing together. There's two blue ones, and then there's some normal ones. So these normal ones will be going. Like I said, I think I'm gonna do $7 a piece, or if you buy 10, it'll be 60. If you're a member, it'll be 50. So I'll take a buck off each shrimp on top of that. Or if you buy less, I can do that too. Still take a buck off. And then the colorful lines. It's hard to say. These are really my babies, and I do want to make sure someone's gonna keep up the work of culling them. And as you can see, it still needs some work. Like, I haven't culled that tank in 2 months, probably very heavily. So there's a whole new generation that's grown up in there that I need to get out of there. I mean, they all have the blue genes, but they aren't all expressing it all the time, which is what I want. So I go in there, like, when I cull, it's at night, it's in the day, and then it's again 2 days later, and then it's when I feed them. And so I just look for any of them that don't have at least blue hues in them, and that is what I've had to do to get a consistent, 50% to 30% really bright blue. I mean, some you'll see and you're like, holy cow, that is a topaz, or that is a sky blue colored shrimp. Um, but a lot of them have more of an iridescent blue. It's an interesting thing. Um, Bacterial infection remedy is okay to put in shrimp tank. Shrimp die one every day. I don't quite understand, Big Dog. But if you're talking about putting antibiotics in a shrimp tank, that's okay. That's totally okay. If you overdose any of those chemicals, though, I mean any treatment for your tank, you're gonna end up killing, especially shrimp. They're very susceptible to that. But also, rainbow fish, loaches, and any sort of gobies, they'll also be very susceptible to overdosage. Um, Mississippi Hippie, what's going on? Good to see you. Morwina, hello. Do you still have the Hawaiian Blue Moscow guppies? Yes, I do. So, I've got a couple of them right here. In fact, they were in the tank I was showing you guys. They're up here. The light isn't showing off their beauty. Here you go. Right there. But they're in there. And holy cow, look at all the shrimp that have come out because I put pellets in. So here's a good gathering of wild, or rather what you would get from anybody you bought Malawa shrimp from normally. On a light substrate, they look very light colored. On a dark substrate, they turn kind of a gray color oftentimes, or pink. Like, you'll see some of them have kind of this like reddish pink color to them, like that one up there, or almost like a violet color. And it's usually only when they're eating or really revved up. Like, here's a female that's pregnant, and she's got like just brown eggs. And again, their eyes, you don't see the white of their eyes nearly as much. You see a big pupil. Whereas, and none of these again are they don't have the white band. Hey, it's a little goby. They don't have that banding that I was talking about. That when we come down here, now, let's see who's hanging out here. So when we come down here to the blue tank, some of them are kind of a grayish blue, and some of them are darker, like this one up here. Yet there's one, you see the little kind of yellowish one? That's a coal that I need to take care of. That other one there, that's a coal that I need to take care of. But here you can see blue, 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 blue. And when they're pregnant, the blue ones turn kind of like a grayish color usually. So it's kind of interesting. And then you've got this species, which is the, I can't remember for sure if it's the Weberite, but it's the golden nebula, and they're called that because, see the difference? The golden nebulas, they have eyes, one that are on little stems and stick out, which you can perfectly see right here, which is handy. Whereas the Malawas, their eyes are set on their head, actually on their head. Here's another Malawa. And the other ones, the gold nebulas, they've got these whitish yellow dots and then bands on them all over, plus more dots, smaller. Whereas the Malawas that I've been breeding to be blue, all those little dots are like a gray color, and you get some banding on the spine right before they shed. This one's about to shed is why it looks like similar, but you can tell yet again that the eyes are sitting right on the body, and it doesn't have speckles all over. It just has some white down the spine and on the other parts. So but they're in here with Cochuse tetras that will gladly eat them. And as I said, they're kind of dumb about that. But there's just enough of them and enough hiding spots in this tank that it works out. Now you can see, surrounded by the other shrimp too, by the other species, which don't get those plaques until they're a bit older. You can see the difference in that blue body. And none of these are like my superstars. In fact, my superstars are actually in these buckets of the blues, but you can't see by just staring into them. But we can probably get a couple blues and a couple reds to show up if we move things around, because also remember what I said about the light. The light is pretty crucial on their color, the substrate and the light. And if they're scared, you know, if when they're in shipping, they're not the most colorful things in the world either. But as you move things around, as they get comfortable, as they're eating, they get much more blue. They get much more, the color really sets in. And this stone behind him is like a jadeite, so that's not really helping my point. I'm trying to find one to, let's scare some over onto this orange rock. See if we can see the blue a little bit better when we get the light on them. But in any case, I'll take some still pictures because video's never that great of a format. But I wanted to let you guys know that, yeah, I'm going to sell them. I've pinned a comment on how to get a hold of me if you want to buy some. And I will let some of the reds, there's a red one that I'd put into the red bin. It's more of a rusty color. That would be the worst quality. Well, those are a different species. Those are the, and I'll do the same price, but these are the gold nebulas here. And this is a Malawa because it has no dots, and you really have to look extremely close to tell the difference. So this tightness of filming that is possible with the live stream doesn't really do it justice at all. But yeah, so I've been working on that for a really long time. It's something that I kept private for a really long time. And then I showed some individuals when I first noticed that it was like a pretty significant difference in shrimp pigmentation. Also, I should hopefully have some baby Batis soon. The male guarding his harem. He's got 2 females in here. And he's built this like moss tower. It's actually an algae. It's the Marimo moss ball stuff. But he's kind of like woven it into like a floating island of moss ball, which is just kind of funny. And he's always at attention, so I know he's got eggs right now. He's always standing at attention. And he will pick up the snails when they come down into his area where the eggs would be. And he'll carry them back outside the area and drop them. Or if they're young enough, he'll just munch on them. So, let's see here. One part bleed. Okay, you guys are working on it. Alex, I've noticed my small fungus on the tail of my scarlet batis. What would you recommend? I have 2 tiger batis and a young crebensis in the same tank. I would probably use fungal cure. I mean, like a metronidazole or Canaflex might work. Those do work pretty well, actually. Pollen granules, would that be the same as the ones I give my shrimp? I don't know what your store has, but here I can show you. Because literally, when I said I can never get through a stream without knocking something over accidentally, these are the pollen granules that Aquatic Arts sells, and this is what I feed the shrimp. It seems to really help. Come on, focus. It seems to really help with the color. Man, that is not fine. We'll flip this around. Apparently, the front camera wants to be useless today, but as you can see, it's kind of different colors of it, but that's how it comes. Some dust, some clumps, and I knocked it over all over the floor. But it doesn't seem to bug my allergies like pollen from a lot of plants. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what you have versus what that is, but that's what I use, and they love it. Hey, Dr. Anthony, what's going on? Good to see you. You missed my rant about you. I mean, it was all a good rant, but it was saying how people can keep giving even though we hit our goal. I bumped the goal up to 2,500 by the end of the month, so we'll see what happens. Now, I want to show you guys real quick too, and I'll show you. These are going to be the plants I'm going to have. I'll list them in the description or a pinned comment afterwards, but I'm going to also be letting go my super red root floaters. I mean, they're just very, very, very red. The other nice thing about them right now is they're already flowering. I'll go show them to you in the tank, the ones that I'll be pulling from. And I have two kinds. I have a phenotype that no matter how much light it has, it stays green on top with, sometimes it gets kind of purple, but it usually stays green. And the bottom gets very, very red. I also have the smaller species or phenotype, it's probably just a phenotype, where the actual plant gets bright red. So I'll have a price list that I'll post. But I've got quite a bit of that stuff. As you can probably see, a lot of the green variant here, a lot of the red variant in the other room. I also have a Sawassertong that's from Germany, and it's a fern gamete, and I'll be selling probably like dry, like if you were to take wet clumps, it would take probably 2 handfuls, and then going like that. That'll probably be a portion, just if anybody's curious what a portion is going to be. And I also have, just in contrast, you can see the color difference. So this here is the stuff that's usually in the hobby. The other stuff I got from Crystal Castleman, I think is who it was at the ADA auction or AGA auction, the Aquatic Gardeners Association, in 2019 or 17. But they had the light colored Sawassertang that's more leafy and a lot more clear, but it's from colder water conditions than the stuff that seems to do better in the tropical aquascapes, over 70 degrees. This other stuff will do well in cold tanks. So I've got those two kinds, which you can see the big difference in color. And then I've got tons of Christmas moss and peacock moss balls, like they just balled up, like I can just pull them out of tanks. Like seriously, I need to do something with it. And so I will be selling some as a fundraiser for just my own medical bills at the moment. So that's why I'm selling some of this stuff, besides also wanting to get it into the hobby. Now, another thing that I haven't really seen sold is I have however much you want of it, but this is the moss that you get from the moss balls. Yeah, and I don't remember the species, I'm sorry. But this stuff will coat any wood or stone that's in your tank. Especially when it's not in a moss ball like that and kind of confined. If you've ever had a moss ball that's gotten ripped apart and then the little threads of it have floated all over for like a year, you'll start to get it all over your tank. Well, this is that matte, it's like a velvet type of algae that looks like a moss. It's like Marimo. And so I'll also have that I'll be offering. And then also, just so you can see, the Christmas moss is different than the Java moss in that it looks like kind of evergreen or a Christmas tree shaped form to the leaf, both underwater and above. Let's get that on its own. So you get a kind of, hence the Christmas tree look, Christmas moss look. I also have Java moss and other mosses, but Christmas moss seems to be wanted pretty heavily. And then I also have, and I'll show you guys these in the tank because these are not looking so hot ever out of water. But I've got red Mayaka, which is a new morph in the hobby. And then I've got yellow or green Mayaka, which has been in the hobby for a long time. It's just the natural form. But the red has a bright red stem. It does better in CO2. I'll make a note of if something is like CO2's like advised or not. Most of these are not though. Most of these I picked because they could be, um, you know, grown by most folks. But then I've also got Ludwigia. This is a natural. It's not the red, super red like from the hobby. This is a natural Reuben. So Ludwigia Reuben that isn't so common in the hobby. And then the next little tray of plants that I'm going to show you guys real quick. So this one here is one of my favorites, and I'll go show them to you in there, and I'll write them out in a list. But this is Triflora, or Nicea triflora, and it has a very thick stem that is hollow. If you look down the end of it, it's hollow, and it kind of creates a milky color. Um, but it has really nice tones that I'll show you. It's just right now it's dry. It's not soaking in the water, so you guys can't see the structure of it. The other one that a cutting of will be about this size is Potamogeton gayi. It's the one that has the little fine ribbons of color on each little frond. I'm actually going to put these back in water because they're drying out. And then the other ones that I wanted to show you guys are I've also got Kabamba that's metallic purple. If you can see the metallic purple when I turn it, maybe. Yeah, kind of by my nose. Um, and again, we'll go look at the tank in just a sec so you can see the color. But again, it's got a nice like metallic hue to it that's purple. Even better underwater. And then I have Kabamba furcata also, which is more of an orange or red metallic hue at the right angle. See it by my nose. Very pretty one. And then the last two are I have, and I don't know who has this other than a few people in Seattle because one of us grew it and got miniature form. But this is Hydrocaudal X lacustris, and it grows very interestingly. It's a cool plant on its own. It's bronze or red in highlight, and it's dark green and other colors in other light. And then I've got the mini version of it, which is much denser stems, and they only get about an inch or 2 inches. The leaves on it only get an inch to 2 inches, where these other ones can get 3 or 4 inches, and they grow much taller. The other one seems to be a stunted or dwarf version of it. So I'll go show you guys those one more time, but I'll list up the prices again. Maybe I'll post on, I might do a Get Gills thing, but again, I'm going to be selling some of this stuff that's pretty hardy, just to try to raise a little bit of money. So, and also, obviously, to help the hobby, because that's the only reason I do anything. So yeah. Let me toss these moss, or Sawasser tongues back in, and the Christmas moss back in. I love that Christmas moss with the shrimp. The red root floaters, they're just out of this world right now. And Marimo moss, put that down here. And, oh, and the other one that I'll have to check by state, in theory, is Hygrophila polysperma. This one dries very easily, so I have to ship some of these totally immersed in water. But if you see the variegation on that, it's white. We'll go look at the actual plant in the tank right now. But these are the things I'll be selling, and I'll list them by name again. So if you want to watch the episode again and say, oh, that's the one I want or whatever, you guys know I don't really ever sell stuff like across the country, but I'm going to do it here probably at the end of this month is when I'll be shipping out most of it. So I'm kind of taking orders now, especially from channel members, friends, folks I recognize on here. So I do have a little story I'll tell you, but first let's go look at those plants in real life. So, wifey poo. Can you pause it for a sec? Thank you. Man, it smells like. Is that the neighbor? Man, the neighbor is barbecuing some skunk and Christmas tree, I think. Any case, let's see here. So here is the tank of this red root floater, and this stuff will grow into a giant mat of like one organism. It will do that. It's a fun one, and these were the ones I showed you that are red. Whereas there are some in here that you can see, like the kind that's still green, even though it's in highlight. They are still littered throughout here. So you kind of have to look at it carefully and see which one has smaller nodes and all that, and which one doesn't. But they're both, at the moment, flowering beautifully. And I love these. They do need highlight. Outside is plenty highlight. Also, hopefully I'll have seeds from this guy again. The purple Ponegeton ovasis, or crispus rather, sorry. But yeah, and then so then the Lugugia that I was talking about, it is right here where it kind of has this bronze color to it, but underneath it's purple and red. That's the rubra. And then the triflora, the Nicaea triflora, is a real uncommon one in the hobby, but it has a hint of peach and kind of like violet that you see at an angle, almost like Bucephalandra. And then the veins actually are kind of reddish when you see them in the light too. That's only in highlight. In low light, it's pretty slow growing and pretty green and boring. But in highlight, this is a very slow growing, thick stemmed, interesting aquatic plant that's not so common. So then I also have Rotala eni back here, but I also wanted to show you guys the red Mayaka. So the red Mayaka is a pretty plant. It can be very, very red compared to the normal Mayaka, which is just going to be a green or kind of a sage color. The nodes are also tighter on the red Mayaka. Here's another green Mayaka right here. This one's got a little bit of algae growing where it's been floating up here because it grows so fast. This stuff can grow like 2 or 3 inches in a day. I don't know for sure if I'm going to sell on Get Gills. I probably should, though. It kind of depends on how many people email me tonight. I'm going to start with the email, and then we'll work from there. See, if I get more than like 10 emails tonight, then I'll probably switch to Get Gills so I can manage it and keep track of everyone. But if it's only like 10 people tonight and another 5 or 10 tomorrow and 5 the next day or whatever, then it'll be fine. Email. But here we've got and the way I'm going to do it is flat rate shipping, and that's why I picked the things I picked. But again, here is the Ludwigia exlacustris, one of my favorite plants in the hobby all time. It can get very, very red. I mean, again, we're not in a format that shows the true color very well on these plants. I've posted pictures and done standalone videos on a lot of these things, but I mean, the color's out of this world on some of these, like the Nicaea triflora or the Rubra Lugugia gets very red in highlight on the leaves, even though it's not the super red, which is a domestic variant. Also, I've got quite a bit of Rotala, Bangladesh and Vietnam, which are just a light purple color. They're a wild one. They're not one of the other ones. Now, this is my miniature version of the Ludwigia exlacustris. Again, very teeny compared to the big ones that I've been keeping in this tank. I've even got some mini right here again, but the bigger ones, they get quite a bit bigger. Rotala can survive in high TDS water. It doesn't love it, but it can survive if you have high enough light and enough water changes, like good O2 and CO2. If you get over around 3 or 400, that's when you really have problems. But actually, Florida Ramosior, which is one of the trickiest to keep ones out there. Actually, some of my red root floater is actually seeding, which is cool. Um, and some of it has pink flowers with little orange, or white flowers with little orange and pink dots in them, and some are just stark white. It just really depends. Again, here's more of those red root floaters in a much lower powered light, but they're still like a very red, like purplish color, compared to like the green variety that are right here. So um, but yeah, so I think those were the plants that I wanted to mostly show you guys. The red Mayaka is kind of an unusual one, and the Ludwigia exlacustris, and then the Ludwigia rubra. Those are kind of unusual plants, and so is the Nicea triflora. Um, oh, and the Kabamba metallic purple. It's a nice one. This is the Kabamba Americana, not the Caroliniana. And then, yeah, it's very metallic purple, though. It's been kind of under other things. But if you give it highlight itself, it will really turn. Whereas the Kabamba Furcata is a more orange, yellowy lime color. Again, more of it there. And I've kind of just got it sprinkled throughout tanks. Some of it's high tech, some of it's low tech. So I'm hoping that I'll only get enough or only get so many inquiries to handle that I can kind of hear if you have high tech, low tech, hard or soft water, and then kind of help you out from there. But again, the Lugugia rubra comes out of water like actually bronze and red as soon as it's out immersed. That's why it's named. I mean, it's not named for its underwater states. Oh, the other one that I was going to show off that you guys have seen in the past, I'm sure too, is the Hygrophila polysperma. Now, this isn't legal in some states, so I'll have to check before I mail it to you. In theory, most states it's legal to have, and it will be a free gift with purchase kind of a deal. Wink and a nod. But this one is I've got super red and pink variegated, and then I've got white variegated. And growing out of the water, it looks pretty rad too. Kind of looks like a nerve plant. So, all right. So those are the plants that I've been talking about that I have quite an abundance of between all my tanks, and that I really enjoy, and think that people could find success with them. And then again, the shrimp are like bulletproof shrimp as far as shrimp grow. So I feel very comfortable selling those to folks. And, same thing with Sawassertang, with moss, other stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to go and... Whoa, all my gobies were together because they're in their spawning garb. It's like 3 different species, and they're all spawning. Look at the eggs in these females, man. I feel so bad that these Stephodons cannot have babies. Yeah, the Lucanzi, Ian, if you're wondering how the Lucanusi are doing, there's the male. The female's under here, right there. She's poking out her head. Yeah, exactly, George. Give some to Dr. Anthony, yeah. But yeah, these guys are putting on a show tonight, which is pretty fun to watch them color up. And unfortunately, what they'll do is they'll like swirl up. Ooh, that fish has an injury on its gill. These guys were sparring my Radnocentris. They were fighting each other, the males. And that one, look at his gill. That doesn't look... His jaw looks messed up too. Poor guy. I'm gonna have to pull him out and see what's going on. He doesn't look he doesn't look healthy or happy. Connor Mama, hello. Or Moma. It's probably Moma. Hello. And thank you so much for becoming a secret supporter. Yay! And Amber Fitzgerald says, excited you're selling some plants. I'll send you an email. Right on. Yeah, it's alexanderjwilliamson@gmail.com. So... yeah, and I'll make a list yet again, and I'll list the prices and all that tonight, and post it. I'll pin it again. I'll repin the comment that's currently there with my email, and I'll repost all these plants so we can have a list and the shrimp. Because as you can see, I have a few Malawa shrimp. I have like 4 tanks that are like this if you count the color morph tanks. I love them, and they reproduce so much that like these fish grow so fast. Like these nano fish have endless food. Like these are lamias in here, lamia tridents in here, and they're like they just get so fat off of them. Same with like my and everything's dirty right now. I'm aware that that's a problem. So it's just been a crazy week. The other thing that I can get, and I feel like I feel like I owe a duty almost to get rid of them out of the environment is hold on. Let me wake up the little buggers. I feel obligated to take the ones that I catch and get them out of the lake that's by my house. But I do kind of enjoy just going out birding and doing whatever. But in here is lake water and mulm from the lake. And I'll just kick it up because we'll see the dojo loaches in here. There's like 7 or 8 in there still. But yeah, weather loaches, dojo loaches, whatever you want to call them. I've got a whole bunch that are about yay big, 1 to 2 inches. I can get endless amounts of them. It just takes time. You know, it's just like maybe 15 minutes to a half hour per each one when all is said and done, I would probably say. So it's not like they're hard for me to get. They're free other than the gas to go out to the spot and then to hike a mile in the park to the spot through the military base and then, you know, the dip net and the jugs and all that. But I do feel like I need to get more of them out of there. So I'm thinking probably $5 to $6 a loach if anybody wants some. They're very hardy when being shipped also. So I just figured I'd toss that out there that I don't have a problem selling those or whatever. Since apparently I have a source. I know a guy who knows a guy. So yeah, other than that, everybody's pretty much par for the course. They're not a hill stream loach. They're the dojo loach, and these ones happen to be the golden Okinawan group of them. From as far as we can tell, when we were looking to see like which, because they live in all over Asia. Man, I'm gonna kick this whole thing up. I know I'm like poking them right. I can literally feel me poking them, and they're playing dead. But they go nuts when it starts raining or something. You'll just see them zooming up and down. They look just like kili loaches, but they get sizable. If you have a small tank, they'll probably get 6 to 7 inches within 3 or 4 years. If you have a big tank, they can get up to a foot long in captivity. In the wild, oh, there goes one right now. They look like little eels. And obviously, I can post more photos. You know what? I should just do all this on Get Gills. Maybe I just will do it on Get Gills. Now that I think about all the things I'm talking about, it probably makes more sense. But yes, now you can see they're all pissed because I messed up their substrate, and there's 7 of them in there. And they're in a 10-gallon, no filter, no heater, no light, and yeah. I have a separate video on them and on me catching them. So if you're curious, it's like exploring old military base. I thought they were snakeheads when I first saw them from afar in the pond that's connected to our area, because I couldn't think of anything that would survive. And it turned out that weather loaches can survive freezing weather. So I'm not scared to ship them either. I know that those ponds get like 90 degrees at the peak of summer, and they freeze solid in the winter. So weather loaches, dojo loaches, apparently can withstand a whole lot, especially this line of them. I mean, whatever bloodline that is up there, they were the ones that survived in our little lake. Later in this summer, I'll be breeding out more of these, just gold barbs and rosy barbs, and also albino paradise fish that spawned last year in the tubs for me. Also, I've got sticklebacks and things like that that I'll be spawning. So technically, we can't sell our wild fish, but this year I actually have some sticklebacks spawn in a big old tub, and so They're growing up right now outside, out in the big tub out there. Even though everything else it's too cold for, but the sticklebacks they're tough and rugged, and I know Dr. Anthony wants some, so I'll message him about that when he gets back up here. Boy, you're doing your little guard duty, aren't you, buddy? He's a good dad. He's a good dad. Crazy about beating up his little girlfriend. Oh, no, I don't think that's how the song goes. Are the Malawa are yeah, the Malawas? Oh yeah, I've put them in the tubs many a years, and forgot, like, thought I got most of them out, and literally after winter I go in and try to get them out of, like, see if anything's left, fish wise, thinking that, oh, maybe there'll be like a goldfish or a paradise fish or something, native, like a least killifish. Nope, out comes, even once in a while you'll get Neocaridina that can survive that too if they go into substrate or mud. But again, here's another view of that Ludwigia ex lacustris. It's just a beautiful plant. Different light gives it different characteristics, obviously, but it's a natural hybrid that occurs in the Appalachia and also in, I think, Rhode Island is the one other exception. But yeah, you guys know I keep my tanks pretty laid back and natural. Um, oh, we got a little cobalt stiffidon eating on some biofilm and swimming around. And again, these beautiful Beckfordi pencilfish have just their color with the new, like, letting the algae grow, whatever it is that they're eating out of this algae. The male's color is like insane. Look at them. They're like black almost. I've never seen them color up like this, but they are blood red to like crimson, and even their fins are dark. Um, and then the females are just like, there's another male. He's not quite as dark, but the females, like, there's a female, just super prego. I mean, look at all the eggs in her waiting, and they're like this beautiful bronze. So there's something about this algae that they really like. So that's the other reason I was like, well, maybe I'll sell that algae that's just growing everywhere from the years of mossballs I had in tanks that have now grown out of control. So yeah, I mean, I got to be a little bit inventive here because I called the insurance before I got the surgery, called the hospital before I got the surgery, got the codes, got the surgery name, got the doctor name, got the procedure name, asked, if what it's billed as, what the tax code is, what the billing code is, ran it through 2 times on either side because I don't trust them, and all of a sudden I get a $6,000 bill 2 months after my spine surgery. So this is kind of a way that I'm trying to fundraise to pay off that, because I already had another $2,000 ER bill from lupus related stuff. That's what, when I start getting welts like this. So now I'm going to tell you the story that I said I was going to tell you, okay? So I'm probably going to check out from answering questions um, on the chat so much right now. But I do want to tell you, if you're interested, about the bonzo bonkers insane weekend that I had. So I have not ridden a train on the inside for many years. When I was younger, I rode a few on the outside and one on the inside. But I have not been on a train, so I figured, Amtrak, that everyone's heard of Amtrak, let's take Amtrak, go. Yeah, we'll do Amtrak. So I got an Amtrak train down to Portland. I was going to take it all the way to Eugene, which is a 6-hour-ish drive from where I'm at, if you're going about 75 miles an hour on the highway. Well, gas right now, with the price it's at, if I was doing that speed, I would only get about 14 miles to the gallon in my pickup truck. And so I didn't want to do that for the environment or for the cost, because it's $6 or $7 right now for that, which is bonkers. What's up, Debbie? How are you doing? I hope you're doing great. So I decided I'll take the train, because there's a quick train down to Portland. So I got the ticket for the train, which was only like $50 or whatever. And then because of COVID and everything, I decided that I was going to up it to business class for my back and COVID, and just for ease of like not being crammed in because I'm 6 foot and not a little dude. Not being crammed in the business class. It was only $20 more, so I got a nice ticket or whatever. Oh, wow! Thank you so much, Connor. I really, really appreciate it. $10 super chat says, "I hope this helps." It does. Every penny helps, obviously, and every member, just you guys watching, it all helps. And I know we all got bills. Everyone got bills, so totally understand. But I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Connor, and Regina as well, and to Kenny, all three of y'all tonight. Thank you so much. I just happened to see like y'all hanging out in here just now too. So I decided to get, bye Brian. So I decided to get on the train, get on the train. Kenny comes, saves my life. You know, the train station, it's an experience. Now, most people probably know, if they're from a big city, that the Greyhound station and the train station are a special kind of people generally. There's plenty of fine, kind individuals there, but there's also a lot of people having arguments with the wall, and or passed out, and or menacingly screaming, things like that. Euro Gupper says $8.74 a gallon if you convert the liter thing. Yeah, you guys have always had far more expensive gas than us in the States. But, I mean, it's gotten crazy. Honey, I'm just finishing up my story about my fun weekend, and then the stream will be over. Okay, so Seattle and Portland, if you guys know anything about those cities, they're notorious for the grade, the pedigree of vagrant that inhabits our city. I don't want to just be just what's the word? Be down on them or anything like that at this moment. I just want to tell you that they're something else in Seattle. They are intense, and we both cities have functionally decriminalized, but not legalized all substances. And the cops do not go after public use or anything like that. So you got people with needles in their arms passed out on trains and all sorts of kind of gnarly sights that you might not expect to see in America that have been going on the last few years. And the thing is, I'm totally pro legalizing drugs. It's a whole other conversation. It's just they've made it so that the drug dealers and all the people, they're still getting terrible stuff that's cut, and that's, you know, that people are fighting wars over in other countries, and that's marked up a million times. And yet they don't have any way to tell if their stuff is safe or pure, or how much to use or any of that. And so obviously when they have disputes, it goes real wrong, especially people who are already depressed, unstable, yada yada. So any case, that's just my personal 2 cents. Moving on. So the train's got a lot of those folks on it, but less than the bus. So it's not as bad as a Greyhound, but it's or the city bus in Seattle. The city bus is actually pretty good. A lot of tech workers and just people using mass metro. But so I went down there, went to Portland. Kenny swoops me up. I had to get up. My wife left at like, I don't know, 2 in the morning because she got to take a private plane down to California. She had to. I mean, it was work. And she got to do a little video for marketing for Charlie's Produce where she works. And after she got ready to go, I just wasn't going to go back to sleep. Like, I was just kind of thinking about her flying, thinking about me traveling. So I just, you know, I'm up late anyways. So I just decided to stay up and thought maybe I can sleep a little bit on the train or something, on the 3.5 or 4 hours on the train. So I get on the train. Yeah, no sleep's going to happen because there were plenty of people, even in business class, that looked like they were going to rob me. And I don't mean that like literally, but I didn't feel good enough to just like sleep with a bag with all my allergy medications and all the expensive medications I take so I don't get welts and rashes like this from allergies, or overdoing with like my lupus. Like, hold on. You guys might be able to see. I've been taking medication for it, but I've got these welts all over my body after visiting Kenny. No fault of Kenny's. He did everything within his power to try to accommodate me. He's such a great guy. Him and Danny, his wife, are amazing. But so I had to speak on Saturday in Eugene. Got on the train. Get off at like 10:30 a.m. Kenny's there, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, picks me up. We get a great breakfast, super cheap. He found this awesome little diner. Then we go hang out at his house, have a great time. But I'm really allergic to his dog, unfortunately. So I start getting the hives starting to come up. But I kind of just took a nap and stayed in a room where I could close the door and the dog didn't hang out since I was so tired. So I slept like 3, maybe 4 hours, which was pretty good for me. So then I wake up and we're going to do our live streams. We both have our live streams. And if you recall that live stream, nothing went right with the technology. The sound didn't work. The microphone was all messed up. The cameras weren't working. The Wi Fi was like doing this weird echo thing and then drop. And then like it would get really good quality and then drop. So that was a bit of a headache. And I apologize for that stream. But so then Kenny and I we wrapped that up. Shanna comes over from 503 Aquatics. Got to see Shanna for a minute, which was great. And then instead of hanging out with her, I said, you know what? My allergies are killing me. I got to get to a hotel. So Kenny and Danny decided to drive me to a hotel. And the fish club was going to pay for one night in the hotel in Eugene or Portland, wherever I ended up, anyways. So I made it to Portland on Friday night, and then we had to be at the club by like noonish on Saturday. And it's a 6 hour drive, so I would have had to get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to drive from Seattle down to Eugene. And then, like I said, the gas would have been more expensive, and I wouldn't have had a good time, and I wouldn't have gotten to see Kenny and everyone. So Kenny and his wife drive me around for 2 freaking hours, and we called the dispatcher, and we're like, and I've got allergies going. I'm taking a Benadryl. I'm trying to stay awake to like focus on what we're doing, and I'm like getting tired and just kind of fed up. And then like I call one hotel, and they're like, oh yeah, we got plenty of rooms. Let's take out your info. We get to the hotel as they're doing that, and I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'll just walk right into the lobby. And I get there, and they're like, we've got a Greyhound bus and a tour bus that just pulled in and took every single room. We've got people on cots. We don't have a room. Sorry, I don't know what they told you on the phone. So boom, refunded that or whatever. Had to deal with that later, earlier today. And then in the next hotel we go to, Kenny's convinced that they looked at me and thought I was a dirty hippie and didn't want to take me. I don't know what the truth is, but they said they were full. We called two others; they were full. So we drove all around for nothing. And this time it's like 11:30 at night. So I just said, "Screw it. Let's go back to your house. I know I'm dying. I'll just like take this emergency steroids I have for my lupus, which affects your joints and all your body, and your organs and connective tissue, everything. So I take the steroids for that, prednisone, methotrexate, and then I take also another Benadryl. So I conk out when we get back home. I had a blanket, luckily, and a bunch of hoodies, so I just kind of like put them over my head. I didn't sleep that well though. First class fish. Thank you so much for $4.99. I appreciate that. I take it you enjoy the story, or you just think I have a very sad life. But thank you. Either way, I appreciate it, and I will take your money. So then we go and wake up. I wake up the next day. Kenny and I were both up in the middle of the night. He was sore from his shoulder. I was sore from my back. But Kenny's a champ. He's up when I'm up, basically. So he must not have gotten a ton of sleep either. He got a little more than me. But every time he woke up, he could see that my light was on or that I was up. So I thought, well, I'll sleep in the car before the talk. It'll be fine. So then we start heading down, and we see like some black, like talking Mordor clouds, like we're going into the gates of hell or something on the horizon, and just a lot of rain clouds other than that. So I thought, man, those are some intense clouds, and I actually was taking a bunch of pictures. So I got some pictures too that I'll probably post on the community tab of the trip. And we're headed down to Eugene, which should be a 2 hour trip. But as we're taking the drive down, we also see that somebody's trailer had just come off, or RV, totally obliterated. The thing looks like a pancake. It's maybe a foot tall now and just smeared across the side of the road. So that was kind of ominous. And we hadn't hit any traffic yet, but then all of a sudden, traffic out of nowhere. We're in the middle of farm country, traffic. And the time goes from like, you'll be in Eugene in 2 hours to like, you'll never make it to Eugene. And so we go off on these farm roads, and Kenny, bless his soul, he's going like 90 miles an hour down these farm roads, passing people just like highway to the danger zone style in his big old Ford, what is it, F-250, 350? But it's got EcoBoost, which, I came to appreciate. So the thing's getting the mileage that my truck probably always gets. But he's just an excellent driver. He's like on the ball. And Kenny under pressure, he's a Marine, so he's like good to go. So Kenny's driving me. We got Roland, who's the former president of the Portland Fish Club. He's also with us. We're all chilling in the truck. Going to be fish nerds. We're going to stop at Pisces or one of the other fish stores on the way down. Well, two different fish stores in Central Oregon, all the employees have COVID, and no, we're not going to stop. So we did kind of know that heading out, but it was just yet another thing about the trip that was a bummer. So then we end up going, and we're on the farm roads. I'm taking pictures. It's very pretty. Well, see, I didn't want to book a hotel if I could stay with Kenny and be fine, because I didn't get allergies too bad last time I was there. And hotels in Portland start in the city at $200 a night. So this is a little club in Eugene, and they're paying out of their pocket. So if I can take the train and it's less money than gas money, and if I can take, or flying, like flying was going to be $600 to fly an hour. And then the train was like whatever, 55 $75 after tax and everything. So I took the train for their sake. But in any case, so we're racing down these farm roads. Then it's like, get back on I-5. So we get back on I-5. Well, there's flooding going on everywhere. They're getting, later I checked, it was 3 inches of rain an hour pouring down in Central Oregon in the Willamette Valley. So we get to the club. The roads are all closed where we get to the club. So Kenny is like, F this, I'm sick of this. This has been an insane trip, and it's like been 4 hours on the road or whatever. So we go down a one-way street that's like closed down with construction, but no one's inside. There's no one anywhere. There's no apparent reason why it's closed. It looks fine. They're doing like sidewalk repairs. So Kenny like zooms us up and delivers us at the doorstep, and there's like 2 or 3 people uh, at the club. Everyone else is stuck in traffic, not there, or they were like, screw it, or they had COVID, or whatever the issue was. So we had to wait like another hour and a half for people to even show up because traffic was that jacked up. Like I-5 was like at a standstill parking lot. So then I give my talk about the history of our hobby. It was a fun talk. The club was fun. They had their auction, did all that. And then we have to make it back to Portland by 7:30 so I can get on the train, and then my wife can pick me up around 11 p.m. in Seattle. Again, it's only supposed to be a 3.5 hour train ride, which first on the way down wasn't bad. I just didn't want to sleep because there were some sketchy folks. Because if you miss your train or you miss your bus, a lot of times they'll put you on the train, and ironically they put you in like first class or business class or sleeper cars because those are the ones that don't sell out. So you actually end up with more sketchy people sometimes in those sections than in the coach section, or the economy section. So I got the same thing, business class on the way back, which gives you like the seat doesn't recline, but it goes back a little bit. So I figured that would help with my back, having had spine surgery a few months ago, and my lupus, and it being like it's all flared now. Like you can probably still see inflammation and flaring on my face. So between stress and the dog, that kind of does that, and I just get antsy in a good way, but any stress is stress, so it happens. So then I go into kind of like panic mode of, am I going to make it tonight? Like I don't want to have to charge them for a hotel because they said if you don't make your train, let us know. We'll get you a hotel. We can cover the 150 or $200 or whatever. Well, the thing they may not have realized, because Eugene's not the big city really, is that even in like Portland, like $200 is like the Holiday Inn, like a double bed. Um, so even though there are $100 rooms or $95 rooms, that's the cheapest room you can find anywhere, and that's way outside the city. The stuff in the city that I'd be staying in be more like 300 or $400 right now. So I didn't want that to happen, and neither did Kenny. So we wanted to get me to the train. So I get the last train out of town. We pull up with just a little bit of time to spare, and I get my ticket, like a physical ticket. Again, for some reason, it's 100 or not 100, but like $78 cheaper on this line of train if you buy your ticket there in person rather than book way ahead, unlike the airlines, which work the opposite way, because I wanted to book my ticket like way back when. But whatever. So, got my ticket, get on the train, and I'm thinking, boy, that was a whirlwind of a trip. Turns out, like, I get tornado alerts on my phone and stuff, and I realized that during that weather, while we're headed down to Eugene, we were missing like crazy hail and actual tornadoes that touched down. There was like a category two and like three or four category ones in central and northwest Oregon in that like swath that we had driven through, and Kenny managed to get us through some heavy rain and stuff and a little bit of wind, but nothing like that. I mean, we could see like the start of the tornado looking stuff, but we thought, nah, this is the Northwest. There's not gonna be a tornado, whatever. Like we didn't even worry about it. But then we get back and it's on the news that there had been these tornadoes. So we're like, man, what is up with the weather? And I'm just worn out. I'm beat, and so I'm looking all lumpy and just tired. And I get my first class, or the not first class, but the business class ticket, and they're like, ticket, and I show them it, and they're like, sir, ticket. And then he's like, you really think, okay, let me scan it. And he's looking at me like I'm like the sketchiest person ever. Because my hair at this point, it's humid outside because it's been raining all day. I've got this like hiker's backpack, and I'm basically doing one of these, like, just look like this, and my face is all red and my eyes are red, and I'm like, can I get on the train? Um, and so they're just, yeah, not the happiest campers, the Amtrak people that I want to be on their train. But I get on the train and I settle in, and there's a guy who is there for Pride, Gay Pride down in Portland, and he was a gunsmith, and he had some very interesting political stickers that were rainbow. They were like pro NRA and pro gay rights and stuff. Just an interesting dude. So he's across from me. And then in front of me, we've got furries. So one of them had a little raccoon tail hanging out of her back. And apparently for Pride slash just whatever, they had a little get together. So there's these, and that's not that weird. In Portland, their motto is keep it weird, or keep Portland weird. And, Seattle's not far off, pretty similar. So this isn't unusual, but I'm just setting the scene for you. And then up ahead of that, there's like a lumberjack, and then there's like this dude with like a kufi who's definitely like, he's got all his Islamic junk. So I shouldn't say junk. I mean like the adornments, like all the Nation of Islam stuff, not the like foreign Islam, like the American Black Panther. He's like a Portland, like what do you like a cleric or something, I guess, probably. But he had a couple guys with him, and then there's also just a few random scattered people in the car. So it's pretty low key, and the sun's starting to set. We get on our way. All of a sudden, the train stops. So they're like, "Oh, sorry, we got to make way for a freight train." And the guy was like very polite and very put together over the intercom, and he's like, "Oh, on our right, you can see the Columbia River. To our left, you can, telling us to look at stuff out the whole way." And then the next ways we go another hour, the thing stops again. And yeah, if you've seen Boys in the Hood, he's like the guy who's like, it's all a plan, man. The malt liquor stores are trying to bring you down, brother. It's like that. That was the dude, the African American cleric dude, the Islamic Nation of Islam dude. So, in any case, he's in there. Not that he did anything or anything. It's just a very eclectic group of people, and I look like a homeless person also. So I'm in there. They stop. There's an Amtrak. There's a freight train that needs to go by. So we go another 45 minutes. There's another freight train that needs to go by. So we're already going to be like 30 minutes late. And we have no cell service, so I can't tell my wife who's going to pick me up. And she's just had a day literally flying at 2 a.m. 2 days ago down to California, shooting an advertisement for her company, then flying back up late the night, being up the whole time. And you can use the word hobo. I definitely look like a hobo. And so then she's tired, and I was hoping she could go to bed or whatever, but then she needs to pick me up. So she's, I'm trying to get a hold of her, but we're in a section stop where I can't even call her, get texts, use the internet. Their Wi-Fi is broken on the train, which was like one other perk of taking that train. So then all of a sudden we get going. They're like, we're going to try to make up some time on these straightaways. Should be good. We should be about 20 minutes late, but we'll get there. So we hear the guy, and he's just very, very professional. And then all of a sudden we hear, ugh. So apparently the dispatchers think in all their infinite wisdom that cargo is more important than people that pay top dollar to get somewhere that have hotels waiting and cabs waiting, and I'm waiting to get home to my wife. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be another little while. So I was like, wow, okay. He seems a little heated, and we were all kind of joking in the car we were in, which was in the very back of the train. We were the caboose. And so then we're going along again after we waited. It was only like a 5 minute wait, but he was just heated that it was like the third or fourth time we had to stop. So then we start going, not even 10 minutes. The train slams on the brake, and the lights cut out for half a second, which I don't know why. Maybe the engine just kind of jolted forward and unhooked. But all of a sudden, the lights go out for half a second, and someone comes on the intercom, and we hear, Mayday, there is a situation in trains cars 8 and 9, 8 and 9, and we can hear people screaming like bloody murder, and we're like, oh my God, what's going on? So then a few seconds are going on, go along, the lights have come back on, but the train slammed on the brakes as he's saying that. You can hear the train squealing, and luggage falls down from the overhead compartments. Anybody who was walking got jostled. One lady fell over just in our little car. We got the dining car next to us. So there's not really anyone in there. Is at night at this time, like 11:30 p.m. at this point. Yeah, which is a half hour after I'm supposed to already be in Seattle, and we're still an hour south of there. But in any case, so then all of a sudden we're wondering what's going on, and a woman who we haven't heard yet comes on the PA, and she goes, anybody with military training or a police background or weapons. And then she goes, actually, just anybody who's big and prepared, blockade your train. Do not let anyone in your coach. So we're like, what the hell is going on? And we're there stopped, and we can see the freeway, actually, that runs in between Olympia and Portland, or Olympia and Vancouver, like somewhere along there. Actually, I guess it was just north of Olympia. So we're kind of in the woods still, but there are suburbs around. And all of a sudden, we see police car, police car, police car, police car, 12 cop cars. And we don't know what's going on. My train happened to have the gunsmith and an off-duty cop in our compartment. So I happened to travel in certain situations with certain equipment. So I was when it was asked by that off-duty cop, does anybody have things that could protect us? Basically, I'm the only one who raised my hand, and so it's him and I, and we're stacking freaking bags in front of the door, and we leave enough so we can see through to the next car. There's like a little area in between. And so we're just waiting there, and he's got his gun, and he's like waiting with it, like ready to go. And we see aid cars pulling up now. Then we hear over the intercom, ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry. We have two wounded Amtrak employees. We had a psychotic breakdown from a member of our. He said it something really sarcastic. He was like, from the passengers that we so gladly picked up from the train station with their vouchers, we've had two of them go ballistic. And he's like, someone not in their right frame of mind, having hallucinations, stabbed a woman. So then so we know that a woman's been stabbed. We know two employees are hurt, and we know that a few people are going to the hospital, but nothing life-threatening happened apparently. But we're in our car. We don't know what's going on. As this is being said, right afterwards, we see everyone come running through the dining car and smash against the locked window in between cars. So there's this like open space where like the train bends and there's like a little area to walk and the door, and it's me and the cop guy, and we're seeing all these people like a freaking zombie movie smash against the glass, and they're like, let us in, let us in. And the cop's like, don't do it, don't do it. And he's like, wait and see. Like, I don't see anybody shooting or getting hurt or anything like that. Just wait. And they calmed down in the other car in a minute, and it was something must have just scared them. So we held our own in our car, and we're all the way. They mentioned that it was in car 8 or 9, and we're in car 2. So we're like in the very back. There's like another Amtrak engine thing behind us, and no passengers. We're in the very back. So we just hang out and hang tight, but just the comments during the hour we're waiting so are just like crazy from like the I could do a whole episode on just the ridiculous things that were said because we've got the Nation of Islam dude, we've got the freaking gunsmith who was decked out in his pride stuff and his like NRA stuff, and then we've got this off-duty cop who's also ex-military. Then we've got the furries, we've got like some hipsters, we've got a couple old ladies. Like it's just insane. So yeah, so we're just hanging out and talking, and actually, it was oddly like an odd bonding experience. We were all kind of just like, what in the actual hell? Why is everything going wrong that could? And so when the train stopped, the people are in the other car, and it seems like they're fine. It was like an initial rush, like something must have startled them. They got out of their car, like maybe the door opened automatically, and they just figured they'd run or something, like a stampede. And I'm thinking like maybe we'll find something on the news because at this point we have like one, like some of us, Verizon's getting like one little signal. So I thought for sure they'd say something about it. But the same night, same area, there's like 4 murders and a bar fight, and then some bikers at a storage unit got into a gunfight too. And oh, I forgot to mention the night I spent at Kenny's house in Milwaukee, which is the town next to Portland, 2 blocks over and 4 blocks down from his house, like the first convenience store where we would go to get anything to eat or drink, like snacks. Someone got shot dead by the cops there the night that we were looking for the hotel and then came back home. Well, 3 hours after that, in the middle of the night, some guy ran from the cops. I think he pulled a gun on the cops and they killed him. Like at the end of Kenny's street almost. Like when you pull out, like everything was taped off, he said. So that had happened too, just to like add some little zest onto this ridiculous trip. So I'm on there not really knowing. We didn't know, like, they said they're non-life threatening, but we also heard the word stabbed. So we're like, what the hell is going on? So then SWAT team comes through and they clear the car. And like I think they're from Fort Lewis in Washington, which is a military base down there. So they came and they arrested the one guy, and they said they took 6 people to the hospital. Like that was the announcement that was made. No life-threatening injuries. 6 people were taken to the hospital. I'm sorry for the delay, folks. We need to detach the car at the next station, which was Tacoma, and we need to leave it there for evidence for a crime scene. I'm like, that's not sounding like a minimal thing. So we get to Tacoma, which is known to be a pretty violent city also. It used to be one of the worst in the U.S. per capita, like Flint, Michigan, or Baltimore style. Lots of gang problems. But So we get to Tacoma. They take the thing off the car. That delays us longer. By the time this is all said and done, I've been on the train like, I don't know, 5.5 hours or something. And so, yeah, we get in, and as we're on the final stretch, 45 minutes to Seattle, one of the Amtrak employees comes to our section because it's the least crowded, and there's an aid kit. And he comes through, and he wants to get ice and some other stuff, but his arm, he's got two elbows on one arm. He's got three elbows. So there's this giant swelling, like right where my nose is. And he apparently knocked this psychotic guy out and broke his own arm. But the town of Tacoma is not Seattle, and Seattle is where all the good hospitals are comparatively. So he said, I'll stay on the train, I'm not getting off, while they took everyone to the hospital. And so I'm thinking if this guy had the ability to even say, no, I'm not going to the cops, like, what do the other people look like, you know? And I don't know. We just saw him taken away in stretchers on ambulances. And I'm thinking this has got to be in the news. Like, where is this story? So I'm still kind of waiting to hear if it comes up even today. But I haven't seen it yet in Seattle news. I guess it could be in Portland news too, or whatever. But at the end of the trip, we get out in Seattle, and they've got it goes car 7, car 8's gone, and then car 9, there's blood spatter on two of the windows and a broken window on another one. And I'm like, if that's not the evidence car, what does car 8 look like? Like, what the hell happened to car 8? You know? So I think like probably they I'm guessing that the stuff going down on the train, they just one there wasn't probably video because no one's cell phones were working, so nobody was like playing many games or anything on their phones, and it was late at night. So I don't know what happened. I mean, maybe someone did film it. It'll be on YouTube or something, or World Star Hip Hop. But apparently, it was a guy. He had a small knife or some like screwdriver or some sort of weapon. He attacked a random woman who was sitting across from him, who was like in her 60s, according to the Amtrak employee that I was talking to, with the busted arm, who's sitting there talking to me like in shock. And he's just like, oh, I'm going to get workers' comp. This is sweet. And he's like, I never knocked someone out before. He's like ex-military. And he's like, I never knocked someone out before. He's like, I literally did it with one punch. And I'm like, yeah, but your arm's clearly broken, dude. So in any case, he's the one who knocked the dude out. They tried to restrain him, and he bit one of the other employees and then like stabbed the other employee in the arm. So apparently not that bad of a wound, but enough to make him let go, and he ran off and then attacked a few more people. Well, then he was fighting with another guy who got on from the Greyhound. So there was a Greyhound bus that broke down, and that's who we picked up. That's who the conductor was talking about. And another guy who got on, who was clearly not in a sober or right state of mind, one or the other, gets attacked by that guy next, and he goes ballistic, and they've got the one guy who started it knocked out, and another suspect who's been attacked who's like, I'm gonna kill that guy even though he's unconscious on the floor. And it takes like everyone on the train, like, you know, people and the workers, to restrain the other guy from wanting to fight them, who then in the process fights several other people. So there's basically like a brawl and two stabbings, it sounds like. So that was the super, super fun trip on the freaking train down to Eugene. But I did have a good time in Eugene. They were super sweet, super nice. And the whole talk, if you want to listen to it, about the history of the hobby and where it's been and the 10 most influential moments, that is on Facebook if you want to see it, the Willamette Valley Aquarium Society. So, yeah, that was a interesting trip. And, you know, if you've watched my channel, you know I just have, like, dumb luck. Like, I always have bad luck on trips. Everywhere I go, either when I'm there or right afterwards, has some stupid tragedy, and I feel like the world is following me, like, with problems. Like, we stayed in the same spot in Paris as where the horrible terrorist attack happened. I was in what's that place? Murfreesboro, the place that got blown away by the tornado like a couple weeks before that happened. And like it was because our car broke down. It wasn't because I wanted to go to Murfreesboro. So I mean, there's just like a list of things. The first time well, not the one time, the first time I ever stayed in Brooklyn, uh, it was there was a freaking tornado, the first tornado in city limits, and we had a lightning storm. It was 2010, August or July of 2010. We went on this epic road trip. Come on, it was insane. So yeah. Any case, if you're in Southern Oregon, check out the Willamette Valley Aquarium Society. They're great, super nice, and there were probably 45 people, 50 people there. There was a good showing. Plus, a bunch of them had like COVID and stuff because of the shop that had it and their friends. And, you know, it's a growing club. Like, it kind of just got put together in the last couple years. But yeah, everyone there was super cool, super nice. And I want to thank them for the invite. It wasn't their fault that the trip down was insane. And I should have just driven myself and been like, oh, you got to pay a little extra because I'm driving. I thought I'd save them money. I thought I'd save me a hassle. But between like my health issues, being very idiosyncratic, and you know, the weather and the crazy people, yeah, yeah, no, I don't forget that I was hit by lightning, Leo. I don't forget that. So yeah, in any case, I am. Oh yeah, he's gonna be out there in September. Are you gonna wait for Fishtoberfest in October or in September? Oh, you're talking probably to the Willamette one. Got it. I've got it now. Well, I probably could have like given them a bill and just been like, screw it, I'm staying in a hotel that's $350, and probably would have then not felt sick. Maybe it wouldn't, maybe none of it would have happened. I don't know. But I didn't want to charge them because they're like very new and there's only like 40 or 50 members active every time. So I don't think they have a ton of money. As a club, you know. Whereas the Seattle club, like they have tons of money. They should pay people whatever. We've got a bank account that's so full that we had to give like 50 grand away or it wouldn't be considered a nonprofit anymore. It was ridiculous. So yeah. Would you say that your trips are adventures and make excellent stories? Very glad you came out in one piece. Yes. Silverwing, Eloquingina, Silverwing, yeah. A lot of times when I go places, I am more perceptive and I also am more prone to like talk to people. So like most people might have been like, "Hey, I was on a train and it stopped and it sounds like there was a fight and someone got stabbed." Pretty crazy, right? And that'd be the end of it. Whereas me, I'm pretty outgoing and so I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna go up to the guy who's putting ice on his clearly broken arm who works for the train and talk to him because he looked pretty mad and like and just kind of stressed." So I just kind of like was like, "Hey, can I get you anything?" And you know, started chatting it up with him. Also, I raised my hand and said, "Hey, I'll blockade the door," because I had a weapon in my backpack. So, um, yeah. But in any case, crazy trip. Glad I'm okay. My wife was like, when I called her and told her, she was like, "Oh, that's too bad, honey. Of course that happened to you. You know, like she's getting used to it now. It's like 10 years almost. You know, it's nine years of marriage, and or no of knowing me and being with me." And when I first met her, I told her, and she was like, "Uh huh." And then when we went to Europe, and we noticed that like every city we stayed in, shortly thereafter, there was some bad thing that happened. I am like walking bad luck for others, not necessarily always myself. It's just a weird thing. That, and I think when I go places, I'm a person who remembers like, oh, that's the guy from that place, or this detail, that's the place we went and stayed. And if you read the news and you've been somewhere, then you remember it much clearer. Like, oh, we went to that place a year ago. So it could also be that it's like a selection bias, but in any case, I think it's just my life's. I am an agent of chaos. I believe is the end result. But that's the end of the story. That's the info on the Malawa shrimp and the golden nebula shrimp and the plants. And I'll probably do. I'll update this video by tomorrow morning with more info on prices and all that. And then you've got my email. I'm gonna see how many emails come in, and if it's more than like 10, then I'm gonna do all this through GetGills so that it doesn't get crazy confusing. Otherwise, we'll do it through like Venmo or PayPal and my email, which is posted right now. So if you wanted any of the stuff, you can go back, watch it, hear the name, let me know what you're interested in, shrimp or plants or whatnot. But that's my little fundraiser for me to pay off this stupid bill that I thought I'd be able to fight, and it is looking like I will not. So that's that. But I will be speaking in Florida soon, and well, December, not that soon. And it sounds like perhaps Buffalo also, maybe Sacramento as well. So there's three other clubs that I may be coming to soon, or it's in the works. And there's also a few others that are kind of like people who are going to bring it up at a meeting. So hopefully, if you got a local club, you can talk it up with me. Yes, I do have Facebook messages. You can find me pretty easily, I'm sure, because there's a big Facebook group of us for the channel with like, I don't know, 1,000 people in it. So yeah, all right, guys. Well, oh, right on. First class fish. I've been following for a year and half. Finally signed up. Well, thank you kindly. That's awesome of you. Yeah. Hey, it's Luke. He's on. Yeah, I was showing them your fish you sent me. Beautiful fish, Luke. Thank you so much, guys. I'm got to call it a night. It's been over 2 hours this episode. But I love you much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night that's not as chaotic as my life tends to be, or at least that you blissfully walk through the chaos unaware of how close to ending your mortality life is at any given second. On that note, have a wonderful night. Sleep well. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, Super Chatters. Thank you so much, members, viewers, lurkers, replay crew, and all of y'all in the chat. I appreciate it. Much love to all of you. Super shout out to Kenny and Danny and the Willamette Valley Fish Club. Kenny is a true blue friend who I would do anything for at this point, man. That guy has. We had a week. We went and visited Jason in my state. We went out to an island. We went down through storms. We went. I mean, you need someone to get you somewhere on time. It's a Marine, but beyond that, it's Kenny. So, yeah, for sure. Danikin Aquatics is where it's at. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye.